Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Lennon from Baseball Development Group. In this video, we're going to talk about the Janitor drill, how we go about cueing it, and why we might recommend athletes do this drill after going through an assessment. Let's talk about who we'd recommend do this drill for, and what are some of the inefficiencies that we're kind of targeting with this style of constraint. Through some preliminary analysis along with ProPlay AI, we found that the Janitor is really good at, one, increasing hip to shoulder separation at the time of foot plant, and two, kind of trying to effectively capture the seamless transfer of energy up through the kinetic chain. Where the drop step might shift some of the timing of the kinematic sequencing, the Janitor allows for that sequence to unfold in a little bit more of a natural, comfortable position for the athlete. Again, we're trying to target that trunk-pelvis relationship, increase some of the hip to shoulder separation. So if we're running through an athlete through an assessment and we're noticing that maybe your hip to shoulder separation is a little bit low in the pitching motion, this is something that we can try to utilize and leverage to have the athlete get into that a little bit more separated position at foot plant. In terms of how we get set up for this throw, we're going to essentially assume the traditional stretch position for the athlete. The only difference here is that we're going to turn the front foot away from the target in kind of a very rotated position towards second base. You can play around with that positioning a little bit. Some athletes don't like to really kind of turn that foot as much, right? As a general rule of thumb, try to get to at least a 45-degree angle with that toe pointing away from the target, okay? The really important part of this setup, though, is actually trying to counter-rotate the chest and completely close off those shoulders from the target, okay? So one of the things I like to recommend an athlete just do when they're assuming the setup for the very first time is just completely look away from your target, right? Look directly at the back wall from where you're trying to throw, and then just try to pick up your leg and go through the motion from there, okay? One of the things you'll find, similar again to the drop step, is that when we're in that fully counter-rotated position, a lot of athletes like to basically just fly themselves open to get their eyes back on target, okay? So one of the things that if an athlete is struggling with that, and we're seeing them kind of come out of that hip-shoulder separated position really early in the throw, we can go ahead, get them into that setup, again, cue them to look completely away from their target, and the only difference I'm going to make here for an athlete is tell them to look over their shoulder, right? I don't want them to move their shoulders. I just want them to move their neck and try to look out of the corner of their eye towards their target, okay? Once I'm in this setup position, now I'm a little bit more comfortable knowing where I'm intending to throw, and now I can just focus on trying to keep myself stacked in this position with my shoulder. The way I initiate movement in this drill is going to be picking up that front leg and trying to get my momentum kind of moving down the mound a little bit. There's some various other cues that we utilize in this drill. Maybe it's an athlete that's focusing a little bit more on getting into their back leg, and we might start to suggest that they shift some of the weight into their heel. Or it could be an athlete that is trying to open the hips up a little bit earlier into foot plant, and there we might be cueing them to drive the pelvis down into the front leg, into pelvic rotation at foot plant. Here's a couple examples of how this drill is performed at higher intensities.